cry mournfully at the ceiling time over here at Casa de Nerd. Though, of course, once I turn the mic on, he stops. He's staring at me expectantly, like a laser pointer is going to magically appear. adjusted the sound on this screen so that the commercials won't be whisper quiet next time. All right, so does anyone have any questions or comments before we get started tonight? All right, I'm gonna do some treats before we get started. Mama? Mama? You're not Mama. You're not Mama. There you go. Oh, there you are. Hello. There is not. You already got yours. Get off. You brat. You're a fatty. You're a big fatty fatso. You're a big fatty fatso. Oh, Velo, did you know that the pocket watch points to what chapter the body is before I mentioned that? Or was that new to you? Oh, good times. I'm glad that I am able to teach you so much about this game that I love, because I do love it, and it is a great game, and everyone should pay for it. Yeah, no, the pocket watch tells you what number the body is, what chapter, what part. So, yes, agreed, Bread, agreed. Now, if only Den would give us his cat for free, because I never seem to be available when he is streaming. All right, so we are going to have a commercial before we get started. There are 4 commercials. We got Bread, Lauren, Hama, and Aki. So go ahead and type in the chat for your vote for which commercial you want to hear before we get started tonight. All right, we got 1 vote for Lauren. Anybody else? All right, we are going to play the Lauren commercial. Buckle your seatbelts. We're starting. Oh, wait. Yeah, get fucking Sean in here. What the hell is he doing? Because he's never going to play this game.
All over the world, a frightening trend has emerged of women turning their backs on the institution of marriage. Chief among these spinsters is a leader they call the Dizzying Spinster. If you don't want to wake up one day and find out that your little girl has become an independent, prideful, feminist, keep her away from the Dizzying Spinster.
And now we return to Johnny Dollar and the case of the Obra Dinn. Really? It's not going to load? It's going to just ruin my setup like that? Thanks. There we go. Alright, everyone. If you remember, we've got a bit of a puzzle here, you might say. One murder, two that I can understand. We're up to about 30 deaths here on this death ship, and seemingly the only survivors are Dr. Evans, Miss Jane Bird, Emily Jackson, and our unnamed steward fellow who escaped on one of the boats in Chapter 9, The Escape. Just to give everyone a little refresher, the story we know of the ship, it's not a great one. At some point, fairly early on, Nathan Peters' brother Samuel died. It may or may not have been Lars Linda's fault, though fellow crewmen say that it wasn't. We'll have to see about that one for ourselves. After that, we know for sure that at least 2 men aboard the ship died of a terrible illness. Some lung condition that they had before they got on board, but nevertheless took their lives once they were here. From there, we're not quite sure what happened, just that terrible, terrible beasts with legs like spiders and seemingly riders on top of them, made of seaweed and glowing, terrible eyes, came up the sides of the ship and killed many people aboard. One of them was set on fire, along with poor Charles Hirschstick. The other, well, we're still not sure, but we do know that between the two of them, they spiked several people, decapitated them, and led to one of them being shot through the wall into the port walk, where his body was finally found. Unfortunately, by me, though thankfully not by smell. So, after that, because those horrible creatures weren't terrible enough, there was a kraken that came up from the depths and attacked the ship, leading to the deaths of the captain's wife, among others. Many others. We all now know what it sounds like when a grown man is torn apart. Thanks. We lost the bosun and the bosun's mate, as long with many, many others. After that, there was an escape. Successful on the part of Dr. Evans and the others mentioned before. Unsuccessful for one Paul Moss, who was killed with a sword. And it didn't work out so well for his killer either. The Russian topman, Lenin Volkov, that's right, if you remember. So, got a lot of holes in here, but we do know that it ended with a mutiny. So, let's get down to business. As we see here, this is a new ethereal door that we have not yet looked into. I don't know if your memory of the map or the ship's whatever is particularly good, but mine is, and so I'll refer you to the view of the ship here, and we are right outside the first mate's quarters. So whatever's in here, probably not that good. Let's take a look. So, hanging outside the window here, rather obvious even from the door, it's a wonder the first mate didn't notice, we have what appears to be a shoe and a leg. Well, a bone leg. It's got a rope around it. Not exactly how I would hang someone, but you never know. Let's see how he died.
On your toes.
Go back there!
Here.
Captain!
Slack the lifts and lower the boats! The whole crew will be on us!
Give it up.
He was shot. How unfortunate. Though, look at his ankle. He is hanging off by the rope. And what's this? There is a tattoo on his arm. Does anyone have the note from last time? What was the number of the man with the tattoo on his arm? Because we have found him and his cause of death. He was shot in the chest by... Oh. What's happening here? It did sound like they were trying to leave. This woman, part of the group known as Formosan Royalty, is being held clearly against her will, as we heard her shout. Oh, not looking too good for the midshipman. Finley Dalton's taking a spear to the thigh. That's deadly, but as we unfortunately know, that's not what killed him. So this happened after a bitter cold, but before the other events, which explains why we haven't seen this man before. So this gentleman, he was shot with a gun by, I'm not sure, but I took a little peek at his clothing in there. And he was wearing a fancy hat. So, let's call him an unknown officer. Now, 3747. Let's take a look. 47, Alexei Toporov, seaman, Russia. We know it's not him because this man that we just saw was not one of the 3 Russians playing cards. And Alexei Toporov definitely is. So, let's take a look at 37. Timothy Butamont of Scotland. Kind of fits the accent. He said, give it up. Not bad. And he is in the back row of the photo, or the portrait, with all of the other topmen. So, we'll go ahead and pencil that in. Timothy Butamont topman, shot with a gun. We got a steward here in a boat. With a cask. Another lantern is fallen over. Excuse me. This, however, is one of the Russians. And this is the other one. This is the man with the pipe. Does anyone remember who has the pipe? That one's 37, isn't it? Or that one's 47, isn't it? We'll get back to him. Like I said, fancy clothes. Yep, fancy hat. As mentioned, woman was the Formosan Royalty. So, yeah. So here's our man with the pipe. He is 47. Excuse me, sir. 47. That is Alexei Toporov of Russia. Which means you're the last Russian. Excuse me. It's not gonna let me... Oh, wait, no, he's not one of the Russians. Only... Yeah, because the other Russian's up there playing cards. Let's take a look. Thank goodness we have these sketches here to reference. So, This is Leonid Volkov. This is the other Russian. So we know you are Alarkus Nikishin. Don't know who this fellow is. Don't know who this officer is. We have our dead man, Timothy Budemont. A friend, midshipman here, doesn't look too good, but we know he dies later, unfortunately. Like I said, Finley Dalton. Oh! What do we have here? This is from the sketch. It's this fellow right here. Well, let's see how he died, though I think we've already seen it. Hanging, terrible way to go, though it looked like they were firing on him.
Hok Seng Lao, you have been found guilty by self-confession of the murder of Nunzio Pasquale.
Quiet.
As captain of this ship, and by the authority of the East India Company, and thus the Crown of England, I sentence you to death by firing line.
Is that really how you people do things over here?
Mr. Wolf,
I mean,
when you are
well,
ready.
we've got our problems
Right, sir.
stateside, but...
Ready, men. Aim. Fire!
So, we know this gentleman is Hok Seng Lao. Kind of a given, really, unfortunately. Firing line. One of the mates and his steward. This is our carpenter. Bosun's mate, Wei Li, who we unfortunately see later. This must be Miss Lim. No, go back. So, passenger. Bunlan Lim. Our other carpenter, Lars Lind, bosun. Two of our topmen. So the captain said, "Mr. Wolf, when you're ready." Right? We all heard it very clearly. And then a man with a slight accent said, "Ready, aim, fire." That's this gentleman here in the fancy top hat who loses the top half of his body. So this is Hok Seng Lao. And he was shot with a gun. But you see, a firing line, that's not too terribly specific. And if we have a magic pocket watch, we're probably going to be held to a higher standard than most investigations. So we'll have to find out who actually dealt the killing blow. But let's get back to Christian Wolf, our gunner. As we suspected earlier, when he was down with the cannons giving orders, our man with a top hat and an accent is our gunner, Christian Wolf. By a terrible beast. So we have Train Hat Man, who had the top half of his face blown off. This is our first mate, William Poskett. This is our kidnapper and his steward. So he is either the second mate or the fourth mate, because this is our third mate, Martin Parrott, and his poor crushed by a cannon steward, Roderick Anderson. So, we have these four men. Our old friend Henry Brennan, our friend with the pipe, Mr. Toporov, this fellow who also was going along with the kidnapper, though we don't know. Thank you for that. I'm going to just put that in my pocket and no one else saw it. This is our friend that was also with the kidnapping. This gentleman with a quite impressive nose we don't think I've seen before. Though that perhaps means that he died rather early. Maybe it's better if we see more of them? Either way, there does appear to be another body, perhaps that of the man Hokseng Lao has killed, Nunzio Pasqua. This ectoplasm sure likes to get its miles in. It is miles here, right? Not that horrible French system. Metric.
Hello? Who is there? Who is that? Is someone hurt? Signore Nichols, is that you? What are you doing down here?
Oh, hello, yes. All fine here. Just, sorting some things.
Watch your step. Here, let me help you.
Close. Oh! This is indeed a murder of Nunzio Pasqua, but this does not appear to be Hokseng Lao. This is Signor Nichols, who is the kidnapper, perhaps unsurprisingly. So either he can punch straight through this gentleman's solar plexus, or he's got a knife. And I think it's more likely that he has a knife. Good on you, Kerf. Don't start any trouble. And what is this? Because this is something that is not completely frozen in time, as is everything else. And it's inside the cask that we saw Senior Nichols' men loading on to take off with their kidnapped prisoners. There's a lot to look at here. This is Nunzio Pasqua, and he was knifed. But not by Hokseng Lao. He was knifed by Edward Nichols, second mate. Not a good time to be a passenger on this ship. It started early. So here's Hokseng Lao, unconscious for the murder, and since he doesn't speak English, it's really no wonder he was framed. The English. But yes, this shell is certainly something that we're gonna have to see too. There doesn't appear to be anyone else around for this. Explains why he got away with it. Give a man an inch and he'll take a mile. We have returned to Cry at the Ceiling hours. 3 deaths, and not terribly pleasant ones. Not that any death is particularly pleasant. But let's, for a moment, go back to the execution. Because I'm not putting firing line on my report.
Hokseng Lao, you have
So,
been
we
found
have
guilty by
4
self-confession
gunshots,
of the murder of
3
Nunzio
missed
Pasqua.
bullets, and 1 hit. So, let's
As captain of this
See if
ship,
we can
and by the authority of the
him.
East India
Nope.
Company,
Too far
and
to
thus
the left,
the Crown of
too far
England,
to the right,
I
too far to the
sentence
right,
you to death
and
by
Henry
firing
Brennan,
line.
you're our marksman.
Mr. Wolf,
He has a lot of bodies on his conscience. And look at that. All right. We're going to take our first commercial break.
Is your Model T giving you trouble making your way down to the shop for a malt with your best girl? Do you find yourself tired from your tires and worried from your wheels? Well, there's a solution to all your problems in town.
Oh, I'm not too good at speaking on the radio here, but that's not my job. My name's Aki, and I'll fix your car, and I won't overcharge you or try and trick you. So, come on down to Aki's Bastard Trash Garage, the #1 repair shop in Orange County.
Aki's Bastard Trash Garage is not responsible for any damages to automotive vehicles. Only genuine Ford products with no at-home work or aftermarket installations will be guaranteed.
It's certainly an interesting tale, if not
you
a
are
good
ready.
Right, sir. Ready, men. Aim.
Oh,
Fire.
but now that we know who Officer Nichols is, we know that this fellow must be... where was he standing? The second mate steward, Samuel Galligan. And we know that this must be the fourth mate. Excuse me. Not you. Well, I know he's the fourth mate because I can do process of elimination. You are John Davies, which means that you, poor kid, can't even listen. This is the steward of John Davies, who is Davy James. And we do know his fate because he got on the boat, so he is alive in Africa. And we know that gentleman with the hat here, excuse me, we know that he was shot by James Davies. So, by similar process of elimination, that there's no one left on the roster who could be wearing fancy hats, we can figure out who this gentleman is. But I'll see if anyone of you has figured it out before I tell you. And we'll just continue to move on. For a moment, I thought this rooster was a penguin. We got some pigs. And there's the monkey. Look, monkey. Your chicken impression is astonishing, Velo. Absolutely fabulous. Good on ya. So, let's continue to go downstairs. this is where we saw that cask with the shell. It's not here anymore, unfortunately. Oh, but this is here. I wonder what happened to the thing riding it. Why would they keep it? I do not, but if you do, you should head back on deck. Though, keep your footing. The storm is coming, and this ship doesn't seem to be all in one place. So, here we have our American friend, the carpenter, getting a killing blow on this horrible creature, and getting a killing blow himself. It looks directly to the heart. And, oh, what's this? Who is this back here? Nathan Peters doing good work. This fellow that dies with him after they drown, unfortunately. Is there anyone else around? Lava in an earlier spot when he was still in one piece. Our bosun's mate. Seems like such an accomplishment to survive these things, and yet no one really lived to tell about it except those 4 that escaped to Africa. And they're having me tell it instead. So you, sir, are our carpenter, and you were speared by a terrible beast. That is entirely fair. Though, if you recall, they didn't have the monkey with them when they were leaving. So what happened to that monkey is what I want to know. Presumably they didn't eat it. There was still a goat on board during the dew. So that was suitably horrible. Let's continue looking. Oh, do you smell that? Oh, the rank smell of death. The rest of the bodies had completely been decomposed or picked off by seabirds, but oof, this barrel. Oof! So, this is an accident, and we do see some slack lines. This rope is definitely snapped. Is this our friend? But he's not. Why would they have put him in the barrel? That doesn't make any sense at all. Oh, yes, and here is our friend that drowned who said that he witnessed the whole thing. There's Lars Lind. Whole crew up there. Here is one of the guards. I believe this is Hong Lao, guarding the treasure, at least for now. Some of our Indian sailors. Hadn't even left berth yet. Oh, no. Look over at the body for a second. Just no. What's happening in my pocket is no one's business. An unidentified stowaway. Ah, so this wasn't Samuel Peters. It was someone forgotten. in the barrel, but this is certainly Samuel Peters. Are you going fishing, Mr. Loafing? This is hardly the time.
Blow out our way!
Oi! Wait! No!
That was definitely Lars Lind's voice saying, wait, down below. Terrible way to go, Mr. Peters. Terrible way. But your brother shouldn't have taken revenge the way he did. Though I suppose he did get his comeuppance for that. Ah, it's our friend Mr. Toporov with his pipe nowhere in sight, but certainly on him. This looks to be about the same scene that we saw before. At least it was a quick one, if slightly gruesome, and witnessed by your family. And if you take a look at the sketch, he is right next to his brother, Nathan. You were crushed by falling cargo, and you are Samuel Peters. Terrible shame. Also, it does look like we're homing in on Sir with the train conductor hat and only the bottom half of a face, so if you've sussed out who he is, feel free to speak up. So this locked room, this is the lazarette. And it appears one of the compartments is open, but we can't really see more than that. There is a spike, but the spider beast didn't make it this far. The first one was set on fire on the deck above, and then the second one died here at the foot of these stairs. So how did the spike get all of the way into the wall of the lazarette? And it seems to be coming from the inside. I hope we find out. Oh, well, this was certainly worth investigating because we've found another leg.
Keep pressure here.
Hold him down. What madness is this? 20 years my steward, and never a doubt on your sanity. Explain yourself.
Those ungodly beasts carry a curse! Throw them back or doom us all!
Tie him up and put him in the lazarette with those things. He may yet find his senses.
Come on.
All's fine, John. Been in worse spots, I think. Where's the rest of his leg?
But they weren't alive. Were they put in the lazarette dead? Well, Well, the captain's steward was the one that did this. And he said all's been find John. And the only John we know of is the John Davies. And then there was Davy James. But it can't be John Davies because this man is just a seaman. This man's being carried off presumably to the Lazarette. So this must be the captain's steward because that was the captain speaking. Wait a minute. Captain Steward. So. So we know who all of the other stewards are. Therefore, our mystery steward, who, if you recall, was shot in the port walk, must be this fellow, who is this one. There's Charles Miner, our first mate, captain as mentioned, Wilson. What's going on upstairs? So you think the Kraken came because they put those spider things in the lazarette, but it was in storage. I'm still not sure. And this happened earlier, which is interesting. So there was a bloody sword on the ground, and he was missing a leg. So I think he was killed by a sword by Philip Dahl, the captain's steward. Kraken children. I certainly hope not. And you are a John. John Naples, seaman. So let's look at what's happening up here. This is our poor butcher. The poor artist. And this fellow, have you figured out his role yet? Oh, there's Martin. Oh, there's the cask. And our next body, apparently. And the two carpenters getting ready to deal with it. Sorry about that. The storm is probably quite loud by now. I'll just speak a little bit louder. Bottom of the stairs. Looks like a fall. That was a neck snap if I've ever heard one. The artist coming to see if there's any interesting. The butcher looking quite shocked. His poor friend, probably traumatized. And here is the carpenter leaving the carpenter's area, and his mate still busy at work. Fascinating. So, you are the carpenter's mate, as we said earlier, most accurately. Do you see, friends? This is why I was brought on for the job. They eat a dolphin? Oh, we already knew his name. And you fell down the stairs. There's what? Oh my. What is it? This looks like a giant shrimp tail to me. Doesn't look like anyone else is any more assured of what's happening than I am.
Clear the deck. Move the boat to stern and throw the bodies over.
What's your footing?
Hey there, what's this? Give them to me and I can fry us a solid meal, boys.
Don't eat dolphin.
Now, take it slow.
What's it, gentlemen? There's a pretty shell here. Let's have a look.
No, get back.
Oh. What is this horrible thing? How do they keep finding horrible things? Where do they find these terrible, terrible things? Stewards together. John Naples about to lose his leg. Peters. Oh, that's Philip Dahl. Midshipmen all together. Not a good sign. Also, it started with throw over the bodies, which is never a good sign. Our important friend with the hat, of course. The ocean is quite terrible. Now, I believe this is solidly the cook. He was talking about making food, though he's English, so perhaps they were better off once he had died. And he was struck by a tail. Wasn't he? You know what they say, in hell the cooks are English. Oh dear, that is 2 bodies. This deck is quite a gruesome scene.
Lift this out and take it below.
What the hell is going on? What do you know about these things? About the chest and your dead friends?
这是虾米？回来，全部供出来。拢是恁害啦！迄个害得较对人无过好，是人滚死的啊！He talk about a shell. Very dangerous.
Shell? What shell?
So, I know it was a while ago, but during the mutiny, they very specifically wanted to find the shells. So, Is this the same shell that they're talking about? Very dangerous. And oh, this horrible thing. It shoots spikes. This is what they put in the lazarette. Yes, we did see a shell in the cask. So the two gentlemen that died here were both pierced by the same spike, quite terribly. Bosun's mate, captain, our surgeon, 3 other bodies. There's the cask that they're bringing back up. So it seems that those that tried to escape with the cask failed in their kidnapping attempt. So you were spiked by a terrible beast? Yeah, in a net. And you were also spiked by a terrible beast. So here's Martin delegating. Oh, this is how they pulled it up. So we just have a fine collection of bodies here, one of whom is the second mate. And it's his death we'll be seeing next. Now, let's just take a moment here to look at what we have. So, for the crew, we have quite a lot of people figured out. Lots of deaths by beasts, unfortunately. But in terms of the seamen, so we know who these two gentlemen are. We obviously know all of these people. So what we have left are these 4 that we know essentially nothing about. Except we know that at least one of them, who was not, shall we say, visibly from England, spoke English with an English accent. And that was the gentleman who drowned on the boat in June, early on. Remember, he's the one who said, I saw the whole thing. He was downstairs during the poor accident. But in this last scene, we saw a very large black gentleman holding that Formosan guard as he was interrogated, and then he was stabbed through. And so, of the remaining seamen, if I had to say one of them is from Sierra Leone, who is it? It's probably that gentleman that we didn't hear speak English with a perfectly English accent. Correct me if I'm being insensitive, but I do believe that this is a conclusion that we can come to. Now, let's see what happened to the second mate, even though he probably deserved it. In the cage on the deck. Cage on the deck. I mean, we're all seeing it. Oh, here? No, this is a
What the
goat.
hell is going on?
This is our
What do you
goat
know
friend.
about these things? About about
see
the
him
chest
during-
and your dead friends.
And there's some
这是
things.
什么？未来全部供出来，拢是恁害啦！
He
你
just
哋
has
害得
one.
较羡慕过好，想得阮死啊！你头个把个线，very dangerous。
Shell?
All right. The second mate. It's all right. Not everyone can be quite as observant as me. I am a professional.
Wait! Don't shoot! I have treasure! I yield!
Hold your fire!
Well, that doesn't look much like holding their fire to... This is a terrible thing. These are terrible, horrible things. And there's that shell in its hair. But, look at this. This is the fourth mate. And, can we look at the map? Where's the map? Here we are, outside the fourth mate's cabin. So, we spotted him correctly. And here is our killer, the remaining Formosan guard. I am quite sure that you deserve that, Mr. Nichols. What happened to this man's arm? It is not there. Oh dear. This isn't how I would draw a mermaid. Certainly not with 2 sets of breasts. Little unpleasant, if you ask. Oh, still, my apologies. I'll speak louder. So this is Second Mate Nichols, and he was shot by a gun by a Formosan. I'm not done with the book yet, but we didn't identify him as Timothy Boudamont's killer because we didn't know who he was at the time. Well, these are terrible creatures regardless. So we have 2 bodies to choose from. And it's this one. This is certainly very grim. Not terribly informative, though it does appear that his arm is on fire somehow, which is awful. I do not believe Miss Lim is going to answer. She looks exceptionally clawed to death right there. And Second Mate Nichols dragging in the mermaids for some reason. Also, it's looking rather unresponsive compared to how it was spiking everyone to death later. Also, the chest is on fire, I am no Indiana Jones, and this is no Ark of the Covenant, but it's certainly something. Do you think the office would accept it if I just put the open to the Ark of the Covenant? No? No, I didn't think so. So, I don't know for sure who you are, but you did burn to death. Night's falling. We should try and hurry up. This ship will certainly... Isn't that the way that the shell glows? That out there. You all see this, right? That's... Let's leave with all due haste. As soon as the job is finished. Oh! So I would like to second my comment that this is quite a bit like the Ark of the Covenant. That is certainly something. It does all seem quite paranormal. This gentleman got stabbed quite terribly. This fellow is stabbed in the neck with a regular knife. Here's Miss Lim after she was horribly clawed to death. This gentleman that we don't recognize. And Second Mate Nichols, cowering like a child. The mermaid does have a shell in its hair. It does certainly look like Pandora's box, but they didn't find it. They brought it with them. Mr. Nichols was trying to steal it. So you were horribly clawed to death. And a terrible murder it was. What can I say? When you're good, you're good. We're gonna take a quick break here. I'm gonna get something to drink. And you all will hear about some lovely product that you certainly need to purchase.
In the wilds of... Eye on the globe. In the wilds of the Netherlands exists a creature unlike any we've ever seen. A fox-like wonder has managed to domesticate itself without exposure to its intelligent human counterparts. The clip we are about to play may frighten you, so we advise mothers and young children to step away from their radio sets.
breathing? Can you roll? Nichols, sir, shoot them for God's sake!
So, this is our friend, Mr. Toporov, with the pipe, and he is about to drown. And we have to assume that the gentleman opening the cask was opening it at Miss Lim's behest, and she called him Bang. And as we saw, Bang was shoving a knife in Mr. Galligan's neck, also well deserved. So he was knifed by Bang. It bangs ya. And that means you... I know who this is. She just said his name. Also, we heard the name Samuel... Oh, we heard O'Hagan. We heard O'Hagan, which is a name we haven't seen before. And of the people here, there is only one that isn't identified. Therefore, that person must be O'Hagan.
Here's a weapon! Shoot it! My kid eye!
Pick up the oars and row, you fools!
Well, Nichols is the second mate. We know who Nichols is. He's the coward. He's, yeah, he's this one. He's the coward. We know who he is. So, this is Itbangsia. Samuel Galligan just died. This is Mr. Toporov, who is about to be pulled to a death of drowning. So this one must be O'Hagan. Patrick O'Hagan, who gets speared right through the neck. Not a good way to go. Oh, and this fellow is also being dragged to his death by drowning. Quite deserved. This one is already stabbed through. That explains how he got out of his bonds. But now that we know who Itbangsia is, we know who shot Nichols, because it is the last person from Formosa. So, Chio Tan. Don't worry about it, Yue. I'm a professional. We'll get through it. So has anyone identified that last fellow with a fancy hat? The one who got the top of his face blown off? At this point, it's really process of elimination. But I wouldn't want to spoil it for you unnecessarily. So, you, sir, speared right through the neck.
Aye, sir. Checked and loaded them myself.
Good. Stay quiet and alert. If the wind picks up, we've no chance against the Obra Dinn.
Trying to escape with their kidnapped passengers and the cargo.
我冇問題，但是伊嚟想啊，絕對袂當互伊留在水底。
那是遐个怪物出现，你绝对卖起来。
Aye, shut it up.
They say strange things about monsters.
Well, you, sir, were speared right through the chest. So our two Russian fellows drowned, which will undoubtedly be something that we're asked. But it is rather cut and dry what happened here. So you were speared by a terrible beast. So you were drowned by a terrible beast.
Boy! In there somewhere! Storm's coming! Finish your business and climb down here!
Well, it looks like that's all the time we've had to explore. We need to finish up this report and get back on solid land and off of this horrible, horrible death boat. I think I have a pretty good idea of what happened here. Do you have any questions? While you think about that, I'm gonna put in that this fellow was drowned by a terrible beast as well. So, let's go back to our friend with the impeccable hat. Oh, so we know who killed Paul Moss. That was Leonid Volkov. It does seem like Second Make Nichols has caused pretty much all of this by trying to escape with his kidnappers and with his kidnappees and their treasures. So this was killed by Topman Leonid Volkov, which we found out much earlier, but didn't strike me at the time. And we know this is Chio Tan because he is also the one that killed Second Mate Nichols. We don't know who this gentleman is, unfortunately. Also don't know who he was. Or him. He's just a regular sailor. Now this is interesting. Henry Evans will tell us about what happened here after. Bargain doesn't sound good, though the Kraken did leave, so maybe we'll find out something we want to know. Killed with a sword. Yes, yes. So, this fellow is the gunner's mate. In case you didn't guess, he's also the last officer available. We actually saw him when we were dealing with those horrible creatures with the spider legs. He was helping to pass out weapons coming out of the gunner's stores. So this fellow isn't identified, and he is an unknown topman. But of the topmen left, there are 3 from China and 1 from England. So he is Lewis Walker. Just don't know who you are. So, where were we? I would like to look at... I did want to be here still, because since we know who he is, we know who killed Thomas Lanky. And that was the gunner's mate, Olus Riotter. And I believe that that is everyone that we can say for sure. Just a bit of a guessing, unfortunately, but the office won't know if you don't tell them. So where does that leave us? We don't know what happened to Martin. We don't know what happened to Philip Dahl. You must be incorrect. No, you're Wei Li. So who is left? I don't see who among them we haven't already put in for. All right, let's hurry up and get this report out so we can get back to shore, into some dry clothes, some hot food in our bellies, and nice, warm wine. So that leaves us with this gentleman who fell overboard. It's not Martin Parrott, he's not Philip Dahl, he's one of these two. And then this fellow that fell overboard. Yes, and don't worry, I'll keep the terrible watch with me and send the book back to Africa where it belongs. So, now that the report is complete, we're all going to get off the ship, go back home, and we'll adjourn later, and I'll tell you what I've learned from Dr. Henry Evans about the bargain.
We should go. Storm's nearly about, so we won't be coming back.
You will all receive a copy of my finalized report in the post.
Finally.
So you can appreciate the
so
work that you
fall
did
out.
for Crown and Country and for my salary and thrice redeemed hazard pay. So, for those of you who don't know, this is a sort of pseudo credits bit where you can see the payouts from everything that we discovered. The deaths are a little bit forgiving in terms of what you put. For example, Miss Bunlan Lim, if you put that she was eaten by a terrible beast, that counts as well as being clawed. For It Bang Sia, if you put that he was poisoned, that also counts because there's not a way to write Ark of the Covenanted in the book. For many people that died in the Doom, that like fell overboard, you can say they fell overboard, you could say they were drowned by the beast, you could say they were torn apart by the beast. There's a lot of options there. Charles Minor in particular, you can say that he drowned even though they explicitly say that he was torn apart. So that's kind of interesting. Really, electrocuted. That's not one that I knew was valid, but I'm not surprised to hear that. So the way that you're supposed to find out who the topmen are is you look at their socks and the number on their hammock, and then you go, this sock is this name and this number, and I really hate this. Why have you done this to me, Lucas Pope? So the two people whose fates we don't know, Martin Parrott and Philip Dahl, we are going to see in this ending section. So we have met up again, but before that, we're gonna have one last commercial break.
Does your little one tug on your slacks and spit up on your spats, begging to play when all you want after a hard day at the plant is to put your feet up with a highball of brandy? There's a new spin on a household item that'll entertain your tyke till the sun comes up. Bread could be a rocket ship, or a funny hat, or a new best friend. There's no limit to what your child can create when they're loafing around with bread. Call now.
Now, before we get to the final scene, I am going to say there is a special achievement for if you put everyone's deaths as being the fault of the captain. So, purchase the game yourself, fill it all out, and check it out, because it is a cool little Easter egg. So I have called you all into my study today because I expect to hear from Dr. Evans. And I would rather explain it to everyone all at once than have to write a series of letters and send it out. Especially because if it's anything like the parts that we witnessed, it's certainly to be terrible and not exactly something that I am happy to put to paper.
Can you believe it? A package at this hour? Oh, the thing smells just dreadful. Better you don't open it inside. I'll be turning in now. Tea's in the kitchen if you need more.
So, I have received a parcel from Dr. Evans. Within it is this letter. Chief Inspector, I write to you with the unfortunate news that Dr. Evans has passed away. He succumbed to his illness shortly after receiving your package. He was very pleased with your correspondence and has asked that his gratitude be expressed by returning the book to you, along with the means to complete it. As for the three of us that remain, the Obra Dinn is a distant memory and a dreadful chapter in our lives that we wish to forget. Do not write back. Regards, Jane Bird. So, within I have the book and this absolutely putrid smelling package. I'm very sorry, just hold your tea up. And, rather tellingly, it is a monkey's paw. As they say, be careful what you wish for.
There you are. Collect your things. Where's the key? To that door. Gone. Damn. There's no time. We need to go. Right. Here you go. What are you up to? Nothing good.
So, the monkey was shot by Dr. Evans, and here's Martin Parrott spiked through terribly, and this must be Philip Dahl, with his arm also quite burned. And there is a spear down into this compartment. And there's that spike that we saw from the other side. The tale belongs to you now. Please finish it, Henry Evans. friendly but not entirely pleasant monkey companion was sacrificed in the pursuit of knowledge. Well, I'm not grateful. I would have preferred not to know, thank you.
A third shell. Captain didn't toss them all. Leave it. Help me lift it. Stop! Why? Well, set you free. Give it the shell. Here. Do it. Hoist it out. To the main deck. Throw it over. Lock the door when you leave. Get the tail, boy. In return, the ship. The Obra Dinn. See it home.
Well, I suppose that explains why the ship returned. And why we saw the glow out in the sea. It's probably a good thing that we left when we did. This is assuredly Davy James and Paul Moss. They saved the creature, Paul Moss at the expense of his own life, and Martin Parrott's as well. He certainly was spiked. So you were correct, Snark. The beasts were put in the lazarette. This is Martin Parrott, third mate, and he was spiked by a terrible beast. This is not Philip Dahl's body.
I'll kill every last one of you monsters. Withdraw the Kraken, or I will kill you all!
These are horrible noises that creature just made. The captain is not a good man. I suppose he is trying to save his crew, but killing them doesn't seem to be helping. There's Philip Dahl with the shell. He seems to have been Ark of the Covenanted as well. It's not really a good situation, all told. Two guns, because just one isn't enough. Don't forget to double tap. I mean, when the captain just so easily slayed all his mutineers, I lost sympathy. But he did let Dr. Evans and the women get away. All told, very few on this crew were worth mentioning. blasted by the Ark of the Covenant.
What's this? Quicksilver.
He was the one chastising the captain for keeping the beasts. You would have thought he would be smarter than to open the Ark of the Covenant and remove the shell. And yet, here he is, burned and dying, or poisoned, or electrocuted, as the case may be. Hopefully, we'll never know. I would say, if you see a glow like that in the future, walk the other way. Or run, preferably. And that is the case of the Obra Dinn. Thank you, everyone, for coming along. I appreciate all of your help on this venture. I hope that you had a good, if traumatizing, time. Be sure to check in next week when we move on to other mysteries. So, how was it for everyone who played the game and those who didn't? I will mention here that if you get the bad or the medium ending, you don't have all of these cool accoutrements on your shelf. The medium ending, you get a few. The bad ending, it's like empty. Also with the bad ending, you don't even get to see the last chapter. It just straight up says, Henry Evans was so disappointed he died, fuck you, don't write. Yeah, there's 3 endings. There's the bad ending, the medium ending, and the good ending, which we got. The bad ending means you didn't solve basically anything. The medium ending is you solved quite a lot, but not everything that was possible. And if you get the medium ending, like I said, there's fewer things on the shelf, but you do get to see the bargain chapter. And then for the bad ending, it just says, Henry Evans was so disappointed he died, fuck you. Which is pretty much the best. It is absolutely excellent. Also, I want to mention that obviously Lucas Pope did most of the work all by himself. He created that new dithering algorithm, etc., etc. But all of the localization was done by this magnificent team of people. Also, what's going to be great is you'll see a little bit forward. It'll just show, it'll say voices. Yeah, here we go. Character voicing and then a picture, but it does not tell you their names because it doesn't want to spoil it. It doesn't want you to just go through to see the credits so that you could find out who's whom. So I was just absolutely tickled when I saw the credits for the first time. It's absolutely wonderful. And this is a phenomenal game, and you should all go buy it, even though it's already been spoiled just because it's great. My favorite line that I just hear in my head all the time is, "This is your Kraken!" And I have it set up, my setup right now is such that I can't actually hear the game, but I have played it so many times that I still know what everyone sounds like. And so that's so enjoyable to me. This game is absolutely phenomenal. I highly, highly recommend that you experience it yourself, even though you've already had it spoiled for you, because it is absolutely amazing. Another thing I want to point out, like I said, I've seen many, many playthroughs of this game, and basically, if the player was American, they really, really struggled with who the Carpenters were because they didn't notice the American accents. But everyone who wasn't American was like, "Oh, those are the Americans! This is easy!" So that what I found out was pretty interesting. Like I said, they use the actual Taiwanese language, which is absolutely really cool, and I really support that. Just the whole game is beautifully made. If you have any questions or comments, you can throw them at me now, either about the game or about what my plans are for the channel and stuff like that. Also, actually, one more thing. So the player does have a voice. You have about 2 lines that are in the intro, which I played off screen because it didn't really fit the narrative I wanted to present here. And the Lucas Pope actually got 2 voice actors, at least for the English localization, and one is a man and one is a woman, and it is just random which one you get. So I did a different playthrough where I took some footage for the trailer, and that one was female, but on this playthrough I already had the sound muted on my end when I did that, so I don't know which one it was. Also, you should check out Papers, Please, also by Lucas Pope, because it's amazing. But yeah, so if you, this game was in development for a long time because, one dev, but when the demo went out, the demo included up to Abigail's death to get you through the tutorial. So through Abigail's death is the tutorial section. Also, I scheduled what order I was going to do the chapters in to both not end you guys on a cliffhanger on Tuesday, and so that I didn't want to end you on a cliffhanger, and then I wanted to have like a good narrative flow for today, because I knew what we had left, and I wanted to start with murder, because while that's really exciting, I don't think it's as exciting as Unholy Captives and The Calling. Those chapters have a whole lot going on, and I feel like there's just a building sense of dread if you already know that the kidnapping happened and the theft happened, and you're like, oh no, this is the consequences, and then you just build up more and more and more until you see exactly how they died. It took you 5 restarts. I think that I got the woman both times, but most of the playthroughs that I've watched actually have gotten the woman, and I'm like, hell yeah, even though it's not time appropriate, but who the fuck cares? It's my fantasy boat ghost mystery game. So, starting tomorrow is the new Diablo season, Diablo 3. It is season 22. I'm going to be playing normal, seasonal, not hardcore. Sorry, Bello. And so I will be streaming that tomorrow at 8 when the patch drops. I'm sure most people aren't interested in that. I love Diablo 3 a lot, and I can go on and on about it for a really long time because I really love that game. So I'm going to be playing that, and I'm going to be streaming it quite a lot, at least until I get the full champion bonus, which if you don't know anything about Diablo 3 and the seasons, you're gonna learn it. Because I'm gonna spend a lot of time grinding that shit. Brett is doing some Among Us playthroughs tomorrow. I will be participating in that up until 8 o'clock probably, when I'm gonna start streaming. And then, so he's not gonna stream with me then. I'm gonna try to have my character at cap before Brett's able to play so that I can power level him and we can just roll through the content. But that does take a while, especially at the beginning of the season. So we'll see what happens. It'll be exciting. And Kane is gonna be joining us at some points. He's probably not gonna be streaming. Brett and I are both gonna be doing evening streams of it. We're gonna trade off who is streaming so that we're not both streaming the same thing at the same time when we're in a fucking party. We'll just pick one channel to go to and trade off. Obviously, Kane could, if he wanted to, also stream it, but I think that he said that he doesn't want to do that for this. Aside from, you know, his Smash Brothers, whatever else that he's got going, the power rankings between the NPCs. Will I do another in-character playthrough like this? Maybe for like special events. That is probably going to be a thing that's happening. Definitely not on the regular because I don't know if you remember on Tuesday night, but I lost my voice and it was terrible. And then I spent all day yesterday recovering because with my chronic illness, it is really hard to do sustained just me expositing for 3 hours. Like, I was absolutely trash afterwards. It was not good. So 3 hours is the cap. The other thing that I've got planned for this year is for Christmas, so sometime in mid to late December, I'm going to do a nice big stream that is a review of the Harry Potter book series and how terrible they are. If you're not familiar with my book reviews, you should check them out on my website, which is very simple to find because I use the same name for everything. So you can check out my book reviews there. There's a few there that aren't posted yet. Since you can find those on Patreon under the same name. They're all available to view for free. My Patreon is currently paused because of, COVID. But when it's open, I do a book review every other week, and I provide writing advice once a month. I have read probably 100 plus books on how to write fiction, specifically novels, and more with a concentration towards fantasy. I know a great deal about it. I have written a fantasy novel myself because space opera is fantasy, not sci-fi. I have really strong feelings about this. But if you're not just calling it space opera, it is under the umbrella of fantasy, not sci-fi. So, I have experience. I do writing advice. There you go. My top tier on my Patreon is that you suggest a book, and that is a book that I will review. Of course, some restrictions do apply. If it is erotic content, it's not going to happen. If it's not my genre or my purview, it's not going to happen. I did one that wasn't that, and it was a translated book, and it was terrible, and I hated it, and I really don't think that books should be translated. But that's a whole rant for another stream. So I'm not going to get into that. But if you suggest a book, and it fits all the criteria, and I think it's bad enough, I review it. If it is good, well, I can still make a funny review out of it, as you'll find later on if you look through the reviews. They're really funny. My YouTube channel, same name, also has one of my reviews read aloud in my I'm totally talking too fast, but I don't know how to talk any slower style. But hopefully that you will enjoy it. If you're familiar with Zero Punctuation, which is a gaming review channel, the reviews are sort of in that vein. Very complainy and whiny and just exaggerating all of the terrible things because it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. And you know what's super terrible? Divergent. Divergent can suck my fucking dick. I hate Divergent. It's terrible. It never should have been published. All copies of it should be burned. It should not be made available to teenagers. I fucking hate it, and it should die. But The Hunger Games is the best book ever. So, that's what we got going on. The Harry Potter review also will be a charity stream, and we are going to be donating to a trans charity. A friend of mine, I asked him what he wanted for Christmas because he was looking at some minifigures from Hero Forge, and he said, I would rather that you donate to a trans charity in my honor. And I was like, okay. And then I had this idea of maybe I could make it a charity stream and then put all of the proceeds donated. And then Brett was like, you should review Harry Potter and donate to a trans charity because fuck JKR. And I was like, hell yeah, fuck JKR, let's do it. So that's what's going to be happening. It's going to be a charity stream. We're going to donate to a trans charity. I haven't picked one yet, so if there's one that's close to your heart, send me a DM, and I'll probably pick it because I have nothing in mind because I haven't done any research on this yet. But I will be complaining quite a lot about Harry Potter and the stupid magic system, and if you want me to complain about how wizards just disappear poop straight out of their colons, I'm not going to. I'm not going to be covering content that was revealed through interviews and websites and various other miscellany that came from that. It's going to be just the books, and trust me, there's way more enough going on, and we can absolutely raid Marcy August. It does feel kind of weird that I am in this sort of clique where most of the people play Kaizo hacks, and I would die and shoot myself in the face before I did one because I don't play games that are really hard. But this is the circle of friends that I'm in. So I, am more than happy to help support her. Yeah, right? And then she's doing her hard stuff. I am thinking of uploading so Procreate automatically records your process video. So I'm thinking of uploading those and then doing that as a stream like Lexi does, because that's a pretty good idea. But at the same time, I'm just like, I just wish that I could stream from my iPad. It shouldn't be that hard. The software is there. But that's just how it goes. Also, if you want to recommend me a game, you're also going to have to buy it for me, because I'm poor as shit and I don't have a job. So if there's something that you're like, you really need to play this, talk to me about it first, get the okay, and then buy it, and then I'll play it for you. Otherwise, that's about what we've got going. Now that I have finished this project, I can finally... I know, right? I love it. I love all of the music from this game. It's absolutely phenomenal. So now that all of that is covered, all that this is finally over, I can focus on other things. This was, of course, in honor of me becoming an affiliate, though because of so much support from the community, I made an affiliate long before I was ready to do the stream, but I didn't rush ahead and do this because this isn't really a project that should have been rushed, and I'm glad it wasn't, and we got really great commercials out of it with lots of help from Bread and Ryan Alec Hill. The whole thing couldn't have happened without him. I really appreciate it. And it couldn't have happened without you, chat, for supporting me, getting me to affiliate, being here, watching, commenting, and overall, just having a great time. So, I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of time if you've got questions or comments, because I gotta figure out how to raid this person that I have never talked to before. So, I gotta just spell this correctly. Oh, right, I did have one more thing. So, today is International Men's Day. So first of all, fuck MRAs, because they don't actually care about men's rights. And two, I hope that all trans men have a super great day and rest of the year. And see you next year. Okay, good. I seem to have spelled it correctly. Thank you, Velo and Bread and Nerd, who gave me subs but is no longer here because he is in class. Thank you, Lore, for supporting me and being also obsessed with this game, though not quite as much as me. And I'm going to send you over to Marcy now. Give them lots of otter loves and Velo hearts if you got them.